Welcome. Today we're going to look at a short overview of the Wayside Spanish resource, Tejidos. At the end of this video, you will be able to identify the unique features in Tejidos that empower students to use Spanish proficiently in culturally appropriate ways in real-world contexts. Let's take a look at some of the key features of the Tejidos textbook. Tejidos was designed using the 2014 AP Lang and Culture Curricular Framework with the 6 global themes and relevant essential questions in mind. Each theme, or Manta, is introduced in a magazine format. Within the Manta are various hilos, or sub-themes. In this unit, as seen on the right, there are 3 hilos that align with Familia y Comunidades. In case you haven't figured it out, the units and chapters are a play on words based on the text of the title, Tejidos. The units are mantas, and the chapters within each manta are hilos. Let's look at what a chapter is made up of. We'll look at Manta 1, Hilo 3 as an example. There are 2 to 3 essential questions per hilo, and 2 to 3 authentic resources for each one of the essential questions, for a total of over 100 authentic resources in all. Each authentic resource has 4 to 7 activities directly related to it. There is also a table of the contents, as you see on the right, so you can easily find the authentic resource and the related activities. Now we'll look at the chapter organization. Each hilo begins with an introductory hook to introduce the topic, followed by a pre-assessment to activate students' prior knowledge and vocabulary knowledge. The rest of the hilo is composed of activities, each of them centered around an authentic resource. Blogs, newspaper articles, videos, podcasts. Each resource has before, during, and after tasks to engage students with the authentic material. We'll look more in depth at each section as we continue. Before we look at the pages from an hilo, I want to show you what the different icons you'll be seeing represent. You can see there are icons for each of the different modes of communication in the top 2 rows. There are also icons which let you know that the activity will work on the connections and/or comparison standard. The green icon with the arrow indicates a connection is being made, and the icon with 2 blue rings indicates comparisons between the target culture and the students are being made. The green laptop icon indicates that there are resources on the learning site, our online platform, that are related to this activity. Now let's look into each section of the hilos. The Introducción will introduce the theme of the hilo and get students communicating about it with the information and language they already have, a sort of warm-up chapter. Next, the Antes de Empezar serves as a pre-assessment. These tasks will give you feedback about where you are starting with your students and how far you both need to go to take them to the end of the unit. It can help immensely with your planning. Note that the teacher's manual gives you plenty of ideas on how to further scaffold if needed. The Tejidos authors have incorporated almost 100 authentic sources from virtually every Spanish-speaking country and have created engaging, purposeful, and meaningful activities that students will enjoy doing. All the authentic resources and activities follow the mantra of edit the task, not the text. The activities have been created so that students can access the information in the authentic resource and use it while communicating in the target language. Let's look at some examples of the print authentic resources that are available in Tejidos. Here is an article on teens and social networking. We also have lots of charts and graphs so that students get the practice they need interpreting these types of texts, as they will be asked to do on the AP exam. There are also screenshots and of websites for students to interact with. There are many types of audio recordings available as well. This one, for example, is a broadcast about a social network created by Spanish youth. In this video that goes beyond just listening practice, students are also exposed to text messaging slang, such as the shortening of K and the dropping of vowels. Using an audio-visual format gives students additional support and scaffolding while providing great cultural information that could be used in an extension activity. In the second video, we see images showing others of the same age at work in their communities carrying out volunteer projects, which is exactly what students are asked to develop as summative assessments for this particular ELO.
En un mundo con más de 7.000 millones de habitantes, en el que las distancias son cada vez más pequeñas, la lucha contra la pobreza y las desigualdades sociales requiere que mujeres y...
Note that all activities occur in one of the modes of communication and in context. There are no out-of-context vocabulary or grammar practices that take the shape of a more traditional or rote activities. The activity starts with a guiding question and provides students with some needed background information. The activity is broken down into smaller pieces as a form of scaffolding. These steps contain before, during, and after reading or viewing tasks. A previewing task might ask students to converse with a partner to activate additional vocabulary or background knowledge. A during task might have students read the text twice, each time with a different purpose. For Actividad 1, the authentic text comes from Argentina and Spain and are written reports by experts who conducted research on the use of social media by teenagers in those countries. Vocabulary for the activity is found in context and introduced in manageable chunks. And then students have the opportunity, as in this activity, to preview and practice using those words again in a meaningful context. We have a Spanish glossary at the end of each unit and at the end of the textbook. In Explorer, in the Recursos folder, there are 3 versions of the glossaries: Spanish-Spanish, Spanish-English, and English-Spanish. Sometimes words will be glossed, of course in a Spanish-to-Spanish format, next to or below the source as well. Here's an example of activity where students find a synonym for the vocabulary word. Vocabulary in the blue boxes, such as these, include words that can be applied across multiple contexts. These will help students continue with the conversation and help students take their language use to the next level by communicating with more complex structures. In Explorer, there are also practice activities for students who respond to in that type of task. For heritage learners, this kind of scaffolding with vocabulary honors the language that students bring to them, but also allows for building language skills. Many heritage learners are strong in social language, but lack a background in academic language and Spanish. That's the kind of vocabulary they get to develop through this approach. Here you will see an example of how grammar is presented in context. The examples used in the explanation are taken directly from the authentic resource. You will see through the next series of screenshots all of the practice that is available regarding this particular structure. There is the activity in the book with the sentence starters that can also be completed online. But additionally, there are practices available online in Explorer, ranging from activities with objective answers that the computer will score and provide feedback on immediately, to open-ended writing and speaking prompts that elicit the use of the structure under review. Now we will go through all of the steps to Actividad 6 from Hilo Trace, including the notes from the teacher's manual, and also the resources available online on the learning site. This will allow you to see how it really comes together. First, you will see how there is information provided about the topic of the authentic resource used in this activity and a question in order to help focus the students. What can you do to make a difference in your community? The authentic resource for this activity is a video. So before they watch it, they will brainstorm advantages and disadvantages to volunteering. The second A at the bottom of the slide is a note available in the teacher's manual. Note the teaching suggestion is different from that included in the student edition of the textbook. In the next step, students will watch the video. Let's watch just a little bit of it.
Si vieras cómo las personas refugiadas reconstruyen su vida en nuestro país, entenderías por qué dedico horas de mi vida a asesorarles jurídicamente. No es lo que hago, es por qué lo hago.
There's also a script. There is also a script of the video available in the teacher's manual. While students are watching the video, they are to jot down what problems the people in the video are trying to help solve. This activity can be done with paper and pencil or digitally in Explorer as well. In Part C, students will be working with the vocabulary from the video. The answer key is in the teacher's manual. And there is also an online activity option in Explorer for this activity for your students to do on their one-to-one devices. In Part D, they will watch the video again and then complete the sentences with what they hear. The answers are in the teacher manual, and the activity can also be completed online. The grammar explanations or uso del lenguaje en contexto often come before the activity. However, in this case, it follows the activity that we just did after students have already been presented with the structure in context and processed it for meaning. In this first formative assessment, students are using the subjunctive in a natural context related to the topic of the video, getting friends to volunteer with them. As always, there's extra information about the activity in the teacher's manual. The discussion forum is the online way to have students share their ideas. And this would be an example of the rubric mentioned in the teacher's note that could be used to give feedback on this activity if you wanted. If you choose to use this next task as a formative assessment, you could use the analytic presentational writing rubric. If you simply want it to be less formal, homework grade, you could use the holistic presentational rubric per the teacher note, or you could choose not to use a rubric at all. There are additional resources such as this video and related activities online that are not in the textbook. These are also aligned with the topic of the Hilo. These are mentioned in the teacher's manual and are in a folder in Explorer called Actividades Opcionales. In addition to assessing the different modes of communication, the Evaluación Final also assesses students in different types of speech. In the case of this example for Hilo 2, descriptive, informative, and persuasive writing. It's important to note that while the Evaluación Final is a performance assessment based on authentic resources and set in a cultural context, it is not necessarily an integrated performance assessment, or IPA, as all three modes of communication are not always assessed within each Hilo's Evaluación Final. Tejidos takes a project-based approach to summative assessments. Depending on your goals and the needs of your students, you can schedule the summative assessment for the end of the Hilo, as we are used to in a more traditional assessment format, or you can break it up into smaller pieces and have students begin working on the Evaluación Final throughout the course of the Hilo. I hope this walkthrough was helpful and I hope this walkthrough has helped you. I hope this walkthrough has helped you see how our Tejidos program can move students down their path to communicative and intercultural proficiency. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@waysidepublishing.com and we'll provide the extra support you need. Thank you.